Question number 151. Read the following statements carefully and select the incorrect statement. And the very first statement given is carbon monoxide binds to hemoglobin with higher affinity than oxygen and forms carboxyhemoglobin. And this is a correct statement because carbon monoxide binds with hemoglobin 250 times stronger than oxygen and forms oxyhemoglobin. Our second statement given is nearly 23% of oxygen is transported as oxyhemoglobin in RBCs of blood, and this is incorrect because it is not 23% of oxygen but 97% of oxygen which is transported as oxyhemoglobin in RBCs of blood, and rest 3% is transported in dissolved state in plasma. So this is an incorrect statement and is a correct answer to our question. Our third statement given is 100 ml of deoxygenated blood delivers approximately 4 ml of CO2 to the alveoli under normal physiological conditions, and this is a correct statement. Our last option given is about 77% of CO2 gets transported via blood plasma, and this is also a correct statement because out of the 70% of CO2 is transported as bicarbonate ions, whereas 7% of CO2 as in dissolved state in plasma. So the correct answer for this question is option number 2. Let's proceed to the next question. Question number 152. Which of the following factors affect diffusion of gases between alveoli and blood through respiratory membrane? And the very first option given is thickness of respiratory membrane. Second option given is partial pressure gradient of gases across diffusion membrane. And third option is solubility of gases. And we have to select the correct option. The very first option given, that is thickness of respiratory membrane, affects the diffusion of gases. Because diffusion of gases is inversely proportional to the thickness of respiratory membrane. As the thickness increases, the diffusion rate decreases. The second option is partial pressure gradient of gases across diffusion membrane, and it will also affect the diffusion of gases. As the partial pressure gradient increases, the diffusion rate also increases. The last option given is solubility of gases, and it will also affect the diffusion of gases. As the solubility of gas increases, the more will be its diffusion rate. So the correct answer for this question is option number 4. That is ABC given in the option are the factors which will affect the diffusion of gases between alveoli and blood through respiratory membrane or diffusion membrane. So the correct answer is option number 4. Let's proceed to the next question. Question number 153. Heme part of hemoglobin is mainly responsible for transportation of which of the following gas or gases? And the very first option given is only O2, and this is a correct answer because hemoglobin consists of two parts, that is heme and globin. And this heme part helps in transportation of O2, whereas CO2 is transported by binding to the globin part of this hemoglobin. So very first option is correct. The second option, only CO2, is an incorrect option. Both O2 and CO2 is an incorrect option because CO2 is transported by binding to the globin part of hemoglobin. And fourth option given is all atmospheric gases, and this is also an incorrect option because all atmospheric gases will not bind to the heme part of hemoglobin. So the correct answer for this question is option number 1. Because although hemoglobin is responsible for the transportation of both O2 and CO2, but it is only O2 which will bind to the heme part of hemoglobin and is transported as oxyhemoglobin. So the correct answer is option number 1. Let's proceed to the next question. Question number 154. Common feature shared by salivary amylase, pancreatic lipase and pepsin is that they all are. And the very first option given is protein splitting enzymes, and this is an incorrect option because salivary amylase acts on starch and not on protein. Pancreatic lipase will act on fat and not on proteins, whereas pepsin will act on proteins. So all these three enzymes will not act on proteins. The second option given is proteinaceous in nature and is a correct option because all these three enzymes, that is salivary amylase, pancreatic lipase and pepsin, they all are proteinaceous in nature. So this is a correct answer to our question. Our third option given is act at acidic pH, and this is an incorrect option because salivary amylase act at optimal pH of around 6.8, whereas pancreatic lipase acts at a range of pH 7.1 to 8.3. On the other hand, the optimum pH for pepsin is 1.8 to 3.2. So all these three enzymes will not act at acidic pH because the salivary amylase will act at slightly acidic pH, this pancreatic lipase acts at alkaline pH, whereas pepsin will act at highly acidic pH. Our last option given is synthesized in small intestine, and this is also incorrect because the salivary amylase is secreted by salivary glands in buccal cavity, whereas this pancreatic lipase is secreted by pancreas and pepsin is secreted in stomach. So the correct answer for this question is option number 2. Let's proceed to the next question. Question number 155. Select the correct match of enzymes listed, their site of action, their substrate and optimum pH. And the very first option given is amylopsin. Amylopsin, also known as pancreatic amylase. It acts on starch at alkaline pH and the site of action is small intestine. So the very first option is incorrect because amylopsin, the site of action is not pancreas but small intestine. So this is an incorrect option. The second option is trypsinogen. And we know that trypsinogen is an inactivated form. It is actually trypsin, which is an activated form and acts on proteases, peptones or peptides at alkaline pH. So option number 2 is also incorrect because trypsinogen is an inactive form. So this is incorrect. And although the site of action is duodenum and it will act upon peptones, but the pH is not optimum for its activity. It acts at alkaline pH. The third option is nucleotidase. And nucleotidase is an enzyme nucleotidase. This is an enzyme which acts on nucleotides at alkaline pH in small intestine. So option number 3 is also incorrect because the site of action for nucleotidase is small intestine, but the substrate is incorrect because nucleotidase will act on nucleotide and not on nucleoside, and the pH is also not optimum for its activity. The last option given is carboxypeptidase. The The site of action given is small intestine, and the substrate is polypeptide, and the pH is alkaline, that is 7.8. And this is a correct option because carboxypeptidase in its active form will act on these polypeptides and break these polypeptides into dipeptides or amino acids, and they act optimum at pH 7.8. So the correct answer for this question is option number 4. Let's proceed to the next question.